Hello and welcome to Merlin's Manor. Today I'm giving my thoughts on Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig, a game published by Stonemaier Games, which has tile drafting, tile placement, set collection, and simultaneous action selection as its main mechanisms. It also has an interesting way in which you are working together with other players, yet ultimately trying to win by constructing two castles that are strong enough that your lower scoring castle scores more points than everyone else's lowest scoring castle. The base game plays 3 to 7 players, with an expansion allowing for 2-player games with a couple variations and even a solo game with 2 different variations. This is the 5-year anniversary for Between Two Castles, so I figured it was a perfect time to get in and review this game, let you know what I think about it. Let's start out with a brief gameplay overview. You're going to start out with a throne room in front of you and a stack of 9 room tiles. You're going to pick 2 tiles and then pass the rest to your left. When everyone has done this, you are then going to discuss with the players to your left and the player to your right which tiles you're wanting to place, and you'll place one tile in the castle to your left and the other in the castle to your right. The tiles have to be adjacent to another room that's already been placed in the castle, and they have some requirements as to the floor that they can be on that you have to follow as well. Some can only go in the basement, some can only go above the basement, and some can go in either place. These tiles will score points based on various scoring conditions on the tiles themselves. Some want to be next to certain room types or have types of rooms following in a chain, or score based on having certain rooms in your castle. When you get 3 of the same room type in your castle, then you're going to get a bonus that's outlined on this card right here. And then you get an action related to that room type. Anything from a special room you will place at that time, to a bonus card with endgame points, to a token to add to your throne room that will give you points. The round continues until there's only 1 tile left in each stack, which gets discarded. You then play a second round. At the end of the second round, you tabulate your scores based on the various room tiles and bonus cards. You then compare your scores in your left and your right castles, and you score the lower of those 2 castles. If your lowest scoring castle got more points than everyone else's lowest scoring castle, then you win the game. That's as simple as it is. Now let's talk about the game itself and give the review here, starting with the art and components. The components overall are pretty basic in this game. Just a bunch of standard cardboard tiles, some thin and cheap cards, and a few wooden castle tokens of various shapes and colors, which I found weren't even that necessary to use, except in the solo game where it marks what you're going to choose. You also have a rather involved score sheet to ensure that everything is counted up properly. Now, the highlight of the components are the game trays, which allow you to store room tiles in stacks of 9, and you have wells for all the other components, and this is the one that comes with the Soirees expansion. This one makes setting up games quick and easy and simple. However, it does make things a little awkward when it comes to ensuring everything is getting shuffled together regularly to have a variety in each game, as only a certain amount of those stacks of tiles will get used in most of your game. So as nice as the trays are, I do have some mixed feelings when it comes to how it tends to discourage the proper randomization of tiles each game. Plus, it's not always obvious if you have 9 tiles in each well or not, trying to eyeball it. So you should probably count them as you put them in, rather than just trying to look and see if they look like they have 9 in them. I do enjoy the art and how varied it is throughout the game. You have so many different rooms, and each room has a good level of detail to it. And so I enjoy the room art itself. The symbols are a little on the small side, but are easy to tell apart at a glance. Now let's talk about ease of access. This game is not hard at all to learn how to play. It's as simple as taking 2 tiles, placing one in the castle to your left and one in the castle to your right. Not too complicated. The complication in this game mainly comes from figuring out how tiles score points and what the different bonuses do. Even this is not too hard, as most of the symbology is straightforward and intuitive. Now let's talk about the gameplay itself. You're building out your castle, trying to optimize the tile placement for scoring the most points, and it's a fun, enjoyable puzzle. The cooperation aspect, while weird for a fully competitive game, can be fun as well. Ultimately, though, for how you win this game by scoring your lower scoring castle makes this a game that I would not take too seriously as a competitive game. Who you are partnered with could greatly affect your ability to win this game. The scoring the lesser castle does add an interesting aspect of trying to do equally well on both castles. You can't just focus on one castle over the other one. And if you have a tile that works well on both castles, then you have a difficult choice to make. The way you score points in the game is satisfying with a few different paths to focus on. And sometimes you'll select and place a tile that itself isn't going to score you much or anything at all, so that other tiles can benefit. The bonuses for getting 3 of the same room add a layer of depth to the game as well. Ultimately, this game has been a harder one for us to get to the table, mainly because it's not a style of game that we gravitate towards with the cooperative yet competitive nature of this game. While I do really love the building out of the castles and the puzzling nature of the game, I don't know that I'm fully sold on the way the game forces you to cooperate with your opponents, and the winner is the person who built the best, lesser scoring castle, which again could come down to who you are paired with. Though in a 3-player game, everyone is going to be paired with the same people, so that brings a certain level of balance there in that 3-player game, which doesn't necessarily exist in a larger game where who you're partnered with may make a big difference. The simultaneous selection and playing of tiles does mean that this game plays fairly quickly at all player counts and has very little downtime, which is nice as well. The game also plays very quickly in about 35 minutes to an hour from our playthroughs. This game really is balanced around being a 3+ player game, and I do not find the 2-player variants as satisfying as playing at least 3 players. It is playable at 2 with the Secrets and Soirees expansion, but it's just not as good at 2 players. There are also 2 solo modes to the game with the Secrets and Soirees expansion. One attempts to mimic a 3-player game, adding in 2 otamas that you build castles with, and a special way the otamas build a 3rd castle. Though really they're just taking tiles and scoring in a different manner, not really fully building out that 3rd castle. I didn't try this version as it didn't really appeal to me at all. The other solo mode simply has you flip cards to choose for the otama, and it will pick tiles based on certain criteria, and you'll organize them based on type. The otama will score based on how many different types of rooms and how many tiles of each type. The otama seems a bit random to me, and so not too satisfying to play against. You build out a single castle against the otama trying to score as normal, and you're not having any kind of cooperation there. You're just taking a tile from a set of 5, then the otama takes 1, and you take 1, otama takes 1. And so the otama grabs tiles somewhat randomly, sometimes taking the very tile you wanted, because it actually goes first and then you draw. Overall, I found the solo mode okay, but not one that would keep me coming back. Now the theme. I find the theme of building out a crazy castle to be pretty fun, and the gameplay fits with the theme as you are trying to build a castle in such a way that it will please Mad King Ludwig. The fact that certain rooms need to be placed underground or with nothing above them, as the outdoor tiles are, really fits as well. Some of the rooms and the way they score points is also thematic, and so there's a good bit of theme coming through there. Now let's talk about replayability. With so much variation from so many different tiles and the combinations in which they come up, I can see a lot of replayability coming out of this game. Really, no 2 games are going to play the same. Add in the Secrets and Soirees expansion, and there's even more variety in this game. Though it does thin out combos a little bit when you add that Secrets and Soirees by adding extra room types to go after. Now let's go into my final thoughts on Between Two Castles of Mad King Ludwig. I give it a solid 7 out of 10. While it's not a game that I gravitate towards playing all the time, it is a fun experience as long as you don't take the competition too seriously. It can be a lot of fun trying to put together the best scoring castles that you can in order to make Mad King Ludwig happy. But the way you work together and the way you win by having the best least scoring castle can be a little weird for a competitive game like this, and may put some people off as to whether you win or not. May come down to the skill level of the people you are partnered with over your own personal skill level. But again, if you don't take the competitive nature of this game too seriously and just have fun building out your castles, then this will not be too big of a deal. And the replayability based on variability is pretty solid, and I really enjoy the artwork in this game, so I can recommend this game as a solid 7 out of 10. I hope you've enjoyed this review. I hope it's given you something to think about as to whether this is a game for you or not. Hit that like button if you found it helpful, and subscribe to see more videos, and I'll catch you in the next one.